I'm Maddi, you're watching Yutaru. Today I'm with Lotte from Lunar Pines. Hello.
Hello.
So you started the project like in 2016. How has it sort of morphed into what it is today?
I started it in 2016, second year of uni, and I started it with my friend George Gretton, who's a solo artist. He's doing really well at the moment, and we just kind of started writing songs in my room. We didn't really have a plan for any of it. I remember we went to see the Japanese House live in like October time of 2016, and I just remember thinking I really want to do a band like that. So a lot of influence I think has been taken from that sound. But yeah, it changed so much. Like the lineup's changed a few times, and now it's like a trio, and the writing process is much more of a band rather than my project, which it kind of used to be.
Yeah, cool. So like speaking about the process, you've described yourself as a sort of DIY band before, and that you produce your own music as well. Do you enjoy having that control over the process from start to finish?
Yeah, for sure. I find I am a bit of a control freak with that kind of stuff, in a good way, I think. I don't know what the rest of the band would say, but yeah, so I mean I just kind of think like who else knows what we want to sound like.
Yeah, exactly.
Than us. I have often thought like maybe we should work with other producers, and we probably will at some point, but just for now, like we know we do everything just in my room. We never do anything in a studio. Even the drums, everything, we just do it all in my house, and we really like it. So yeah.
Do what works for you, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So your single Daisy that came out in February features a vocalist called Jess Molly on it.
Yeah.
How did that collaboration sort of come about?
I met Jess nearly 2 years ago at a gig at the Old Red bus station at the top of town in Leeds, and it was put on by these electronic promoters, and we headlined, and they I think played just before us, and so we met through that, and then we just kept in contact. They did a show for Sofa Sounds at Eiger, where I work, Eiger Music Studios. We just kind of like, she lives across the road, and we were like, why don't we do some tunes?
Yeah, it just sort of materialised naturally then.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's pretty cool. I think Daisy's a weird one, because it's, I feel like her vocal is almost as prominent as Ryan's vocal. So it's more like two leads rather than a feature. But it's cool.
Cool. So big question, prepare yourself. Okay. If I was to throw it out there and say like you could collaborate with anyone in the world, who would sort of be the dream to work with?
Loads of people. I'd say a lot of producers. Often my main influence is more like the sound that people make and how they make it. So I'd say there's producers like Mike Crossy. He does all 1975's like mixing and stuff, and I always think it sounds amazing. George Daniel from the 1975, he produces all Japanese house and stuff, and a lot of stuff on Dirty Hit, which is just all like massive influence on us. I'd say Bon Iver would be a big one. More like soundtracky bands like Explosions in the Sky, Hammock, This Will Destroy. Like those were bands that I grew up listening to. I'm pretty and I'd quite like to do like a collaboration with like Miley Cyrus or something.
That'd be mint.
I think that would be cool, someone like that. But yeah.
Lots of cool influences there.
Yeah.
All good ones. So I was going to talk about your show coming up in London. It's your debut headline at the Social. How are you feeling for that? Yeah,
good. I'm a bit nervous, but I think we've got a lot of my friends live in London. They're all coming down, and our two supports are friends of mine, which is cool. So we're kind of keeping it. I quite like to do that whenever we do headlines, to bring support that like we're friends with and people that we know, because it just makes the night so much more fun. It should be good though, and we've got like big plans for it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you feel a lot more pressure when you go to a sort of an unknown city and you don't know the crowd as much as you would?
Yeah, sometimes, but I mean, usually you can I feel like you can kind of gauge it beforehand, I think we've never played in London, and I always think, like, I remember thinking a couple of months ago, it's just ridiculous that we haven't played in London, so I just kind of thought, well, we might as well just do our own gig, because we've got enough people down there that would come and watch us. So.
I was going to say, it's nice that you've got that sort of network in London that will be out to support you and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So something that we can definitely hopefully expect on the set list at the show is your single, which comes out 3 days before the show. Can you tell us anything about that?
Uneven, yeah. Uneven is a tune that I started writing about a year ago with a friend of mine. I've collaborated a lot of the Lunar Pine stuff with this producer in Texas.
Yeah.
And his name was the Field Department. That was like his kind of stage name and stuff. And he wrote loads of Lunar Pine stuff with me. He died in December actually, and so a lot of the demos that we've got now are like stuff that he's still on, so it's all quite, you know, like difficult to listen to and stuff. But I think with Uneven we really wanted to kind of almost pay like a tribute kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
The song's not necessarily about him, but like it's the last song that we did together.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, but yeah, the tune, I mean, it's kind of like it sounds different to anything we've done before. I think it's a bit more like upbeat. It's a bit more weird. It's got a lot of like auto-tuney things in it as well. Yeah, it's a weird one. I can't really put it in a specific genre, but I'd say it's much more electronic than what we've done before.
Yeah, I mean, so the producer that you're talking about, you said he was from Texas.
Yes.
That's obviously a pretty long way away from
Yeah, it is,
How did that end up happening?
One of my favourite things to do is just going on Bandcamp and finding like really lo-fi emo bands and stuff like that, and like sampling them, obviously with their permission. But yeah, I love like just looking on Bandcamp for like unsigned artists, and I found him 3 maybe 4 years ago now actually, and I just sent him a message. I was like, we should do some tunes together, and now with the internet you can.
That's meant. Yeah, I was gonna say the power of the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So he would send me stems, I'd send him stems, and then we just work on stuff. Like sometimes we'd do 3-4 tunes a day or something. Like,
wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, it was just firing back and forth for years. So yeah, but we never actually met in person.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's very weird.
Oh, that's cool.
Situation.
That's interesting though. Definitely.
Yeah, I guess so. A lot of people, whenever I say it, everyone's like, "Oh, that's a pretty mad
Yeah.
situation." But, yeah.
So the final thing I was going to ask you was, obviously you're playing the Social soon.
Mm-hmm.
You've played Bruise and L, and I imagine a lot of venues in Leeds over the years. Is there any sort of famous iconic venues that you've got your eye on to play in the future?
Famous like anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world, yeah.
I'd love to play places like in LA, like the Troubadour, or like let me think, maybe in the UK. I've heard King Tut's in Glasgow is like amazing to play
I've
at.
heard of that.
I really want to play there. And I'd love to play at the Gorilla in Manchester as well, because I've seen a few gigs there and that was insane. There's also a place in San Francisco. It's the Fillmore on Haight and Ashbury Street, and I think that's how you say it, Haight and Ashbury, yeah. And I went there when I was 17 and I thought it was just the most amazing place ever.
So a trip to America is definitely in the pipeline.
San Francisco
then.
is just the most insane place I've ever been. It's so cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking to us. All
No
the best
worries.
for the show and for the single.
Thank you.
And enjoy London.
Thank you very much. Thank you.